Hi there everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Prestige Liquids. My name is Andrew, and as always it is fantastic to have you here with me again on another whiskey review video. Now, before I get started with the actual review, I would just like to give a big thank you to all of you who have taken the time to watch these videos and subscribe to the channel, because a couple of weeks ago we actually reached the 500 subscriber mark of this channel. So I'm very amazed and stunned with with that milestone. The fact that there are so many of you out there that have been sticking along with the journey so far and have still been enjoying the content that I've been putting out. Just know that your support is definitely and 100% fully appreciated. Before we get started with the review, if you have not yet done so, please make sure you go ahead and hit the bell notification and the subscribe button so that you can stay up to date with all future content. Now, with today's video, I am going to be reviewing the latest release from Starward, and this is the Starward Stout Cask. So this release is part of their projects releases. For those of you who have been following the channel, or if you are into Starward whiskies yourself, you would already be aware that the projects releases are kind of like the experimental arm of Starward. Pretty much most of these releases that come out are kind of like the anything kind of goes kind of whiskey, where they just really do kind of like let loose and experiment with different cask types and things like that. So as I mentioned, with this release, they have used stout casks. Now, just from a bit of information off the back label, this whiskey is a marriage of red wine and Apera aged single malt whiskies, further enriched for 18 months in ex-bourbon stout barrels that produced Brick Lane's coveted trilogy of Fear Imperial Stout series. Drawing complex flavors of dark roasted malt with a chocolatey finish, this drop is delicious sip neat and even better as a boiler maker with a barrel aged beer. This has also been bottled at 52% ABV. It comes in a 700ml bottle. The casks were filled in 2018 and then bottled in 2023. So, which makes this whiskey at least a minimum of 4 years old. Now, let's pour a little bit into the glass and see what we get. Now, on the nose, let's get started. Cheers. Now, the nose is actually, it's quite sweet. It is definitely a Starward whiskey. If you are familiar with Starward, then you will notice that Starward DNA straight away. Those red wine and Apera casks are certainly on the forefront. So I'm getting, say, like rich vanilla cream, also more of those like stewed fruits. Think along the lines of like prunes, raisins, figs. It has that kind of jammy element to it. But then a touch of that stout influence starts to come in. So I'm getting, say, like a roasted, like a subtle roasted coffee, a bit of an English breakfast tea as well. That's not something that I've actually ever picked up on a whiskey before, but it definitely has like that black tea element coming through. Dark chocolate, a little smoky barrel char. It's a little bit milky, a little bit creamy, kind of buttery. There's also some baking spices coming in as well. So I think along the lines of like cardamom, cinnamon. The Starward banana is there. A little bit of cigar leaf tobacco. And there's a little bit of a saltiness to it as well. The nose is quite rich, and I think that's definitely something that is predominantly coming from the Apera cask influence. Maybe not, it could also be coming in from a touch of the stout cask, but this kind of flavor profile is certainly coming in more so from that the Apera and the red wine. All right, let's move on to the palate and see what we get. So, cheers. As always, stunning, thick, syrupy mouthfeel. Very spicy. Initially, it's kind of like a capsicum style chili spice, not so much on the pepper. Having said that though, once that chili spice starts to turn down, then the black pepper starts to come in. On that first sip, you will definitely be hit with this heavy chocolatey malty note, but then that quickly fades away, and then you start to get more of the typical Starward profile. So again, that red wine influence is coming in. It's definitely quite tannic. It has a certain sharpness to it as well, coming in, I think, from those from the red wine casks. But again, I am getting more of those stewed fruits. Again, same as the nose, so the prunes, figs, raisins, that kind of thing. There are some orchard fruit notes coming in as well, so I'm getting some nice crisp green apples, but there is also a bit of like peach and apricot coming in. The tobacco influence is definitely something that's following through from the nose and through to the palate as well. It is quite a prominent note, and I think it's a very enjoyable note that kind of just ties everything together. I'm also enjoying the way that tobacco influence and the chocolate are just really complementing each other. Again, it's not a Starward whiskey without any form of banana influence, so it has that Starward banana influence coming in. I'm also getting quite a bit of like vanilla, caramel. It's a bit fudgy as well. There's a touch of leather that comes in. I think with the high ABV on this, so this has an ABV of 52%. It's definitely one of those whiskies that you will definitely be able to take your time with it, just to let it open up, breathe, and then you can kind of dive into it a little bit more. Obviously, adding a couple of drops of water to it will also help to reduce that intensity and hopefully be able to lift more flavor out of it. I only just recently opened this bottle, so I haven't really given it much chance yet to be able to like breathe and to get past the neck pour and all that kind of thing. But I am very curious to see how this will progress as I get through it, and then also playing around with it, say by adding water to the glass later on and all that kind of thing. But for now, those are pretty much the main dominant tasting notes that I am getting from this. Now, as much as this is a very enjoyable Starward whiskey, I think the one main critique or negative view that I could put onto it is, and I'm going to be pretty much following say some other people's opinions on this that have already tried this whiskey. There is very little difference in this compared to, say, their regular releases in terms of things like the Nova and the Solera. The main flavor profile coming through is very typical Starward. And going back to some comments that I've seen on Facebook, that David Vitale, the founder of Starward, has been responding to some of these critiques as well. He has mentioned that this is the type of profile that they were aiming for, that they are wanting to maintain and keep that Starward flavor there in the whiskey. But considering, and I think that's all well and good, I'm glad that Starward definitely want to maintain that flavor profile. But considering that this is a project release, as a fan of Starward, myself and other people included, we like to see a bit more versatility in the flavor profile. And after trying a few Starward whiskies, and especially some of those that have had, say, full maturations in, say, like a bourbon cask, for example, and not just a finish like this one has, even in those fully matured casks, they have still been able to maintain that Starward profile in the flavor of the whiskey. So I think for myself personally, I would have loved to have been able to see how this would have turned out if they allowed a full stout cask maturation with this. I guess maybe they may not have had enough casks to go around to be able to do so, or I don't know what the reason is for just doing this as a finish. But as I mentioned, and pretty much copying what a few other people have already said, again, there's not that much difference in the overall flavor profile of this compared to the core release range. But yeah, I really would have loved to have seen what a full maturation in the stout cask would have done for this, because I think it would have been absolutely fantastic and would have definitely allowed more of that stout cask influence to shine through. Having said that, look, you do get a little bit of that stout influence coming in, but you do kind of really need to search for it. Having said that, maybe allowing more time in the glass to open up and breathe, and also maybe getting through the bottle a little bit more, may start to develop more flavor in the future. But yeah, that is my, I guess, initial response from just trying this now for the first time. So I know I'm definitely going to have fun with this and exploring it further. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the main features of this whiskey. Let's say moving on to the finish again. I'm still getting a lot of those same flavor profiles that I was getting on the nose and the palate. The only difference is that it's a bit more creamier. It's definitely along the lines of more of like a milk chocolate creaminess mixed in, say, like with a vanilla cream or butter as well. So it does kind of have that that soft, smoothish influence coming through on the finish as well. Again, that tobacco influence is definitely there. That's a staple of this whiskey, and it's something that's following through from beginning to end. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the video so far. I think that's all I have to say about this. I'm not going to go on any further. My name is Andrew, and I'll see you all again on the next video. KIPPIS. Well, now, since you've made it this far into the video, why not go ahead and check out some of these other reviews that I have done. I'll see you all again next time. Bye bye.